Hi, everyone. Before each show, Anita and I spend a few minutes chatting with our guest about the content of the show, the weather, the status of their health and well-being. When I put the finishing touches on the show, I cut these private conversations out. Our next guest is so captivating that I didn't want to interrupt the pre-interview conversation between Anita and him. Therefore, there is no formal introduction. In fact, the conversation is so exceptional that I canceled the interview immediately after and let this one go past our allotted time. I hope you are as enchanted with our next guest, Monk Manifesto, as are Anita and I. Enjoy the show. Welcome to ZOOMERTIMES TV. And here's your host, Anita Finley.
And
I did something. I made a mistake and I unplugged my keyboard to plug in the mic. It's okay. It's all right. I'll send it to you when we're done.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. So
Anyway,
you're
it's,
telling me that in that is where your inner revolution, is that what you talk about?
Yes, and the principle of the whole book, and this is a great subject because the principle of the book is, that all these changes that we work on in ourselves have an effect. We might work on them because we want to lose weight or we want to not have anxiety or we want other things. But the work that we do on us radiates outward, just like you drop a stone into the pond, and you can't predict what the ripples are going to hit or what effect that little bump is going to have, And so I can tell the story of the Starbucks thing, which, when I invented this idea, there was a movie, Pay It Forward in Hollywood. Remember that movie with Kevin?
Yes, sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that movie was based on something that happened to me at Starbucks.
Really?
So I'm the father of Pay It Forward.
Wow.
So we could talk about that and then we can go into this. And then I've just been thinking lately, because I've got all these kids around me, how to talk to people who are listening to this program about how to talk to kids about these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that could maybe be a separate conversation. But anyway, I think we should get started on this topic.
Yes.
Get started today, at least on this topic, because I won. There's been 2 times when the Dalai Lama and I have competed for an award, which is to me very embarrassing. All I said was, I just said, give it to him. Give it to him. I don't want it. Give it to him. One was for a book. What did
he write? Tell me what his book was.
Yeah, one was for his book on happiness, I think. And I wrote a book about the truth about chronic pain. And there was a third guy who wrote a book about Native American stuff. I don't remember the content because I didn't read the book, but I know the author, and he's a solid guy. Anyway, in the end, neither His Holiness nor I won that first one, which was in like 2009 or something. Maybe it was earlier than that. Anyway, early 2000s maybe. So neither of us won, so we're both waiting, and this other guy won, which was fine. And then in 2019, this was published in the fall of 18, but they do the awards in 19. This one, I'm sorry, I got distracted because my phone is ringing. I forgot to turn it off. This one, he had another book. Anyway, this time I won, and I was so embarrassed.
Very nice. Congratulations.
So my question to you before we start, if you're going to talk about the children, don't you think the children of today are actually different? And I would just say something. When I have 15-year-old grandchildren, and when I write them something on text, and they don't write me very much, and when they do, and I write something I think that's very interesting, their response is yay, Y-A-H, or okay. There's no conversation. So anyway, You can say it how you
So,
want.
yeah, let's see how long you want to go, because the issue of what is happening to the new generation with technology and how their brains are being destroyed by controlling thinking and disincentivizing deep thought.
Right.
Right. So
wait,
that's the real issue, right? Is that there's a huge economy called the the attention economy, and people want your eyeballs. They make
That's
money, right, on you're putting your eyeballs on their product, their offerings, their videos, all that stuff. And so this is a huge subject. Social control has never had a better heyday, because nobody in the past, including Adolf Hitler, had anything like the technology that is available to people like Xi Jinping in China, or to our big corporations, regarding tracking where people are, what they do, what they buy, what they like, what they eat, all that stuff, and sending them messages when they're most vulnerable and most swayable. So that sort of ties in, and I talk about that a lot in this. But when you're talking about the kids, the reason why a lot of these kids are this way is
Wait,
because
hold on. Wait, don't go. Dan, can't we use this, what we're doing? You've recorded
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
just let him keep going on.
Okay.
And then what we'll do when it ends, we can then jump back in the extra 15 minutes we have, maybe, and do a little bit more. Okay, so let's let this be this. Now,
Okay.
I know you'll get rid of what I've just said. I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let him just keep talking, because I love what you're saying. It's so intellectual and it's superb. Go ahead.
So the question for all of us when we're born right away is, who do I want to be? What do I want to do? And we respond to some intimate dance between our genetics and the messages we are being given, the forces acting on us. So right now, those forces are so subtle, so omnipresent, so relentless, that they have become the sea in which we swim. We no more think about them than a fish thinks about the water it's in. We're not aware of them. We don't think about them. And what are those forces now? Especially for younger people, they're the smartphone, social media, and the streaming media, even on bigger screens. And every moment that is spent on social media and on these other things is an opportunity for manipulation. And if that sounds conspiratorial or worse, I don't think that there is a concerted conspiracy. What I think is that everybody wants everybody's attention because they're greedy and it means money. And so it's not in the best interests of young people from the point of view, well, it's not in the best interests of those who are trying to sell us things, whatever our age, for us to think deeply about anything. Because once you start thinking deeply, you go, wait a second, what did you just say? And yeah, I don't know, what you said doesn't really make sense. But what if I don't really want that? I don't really believe that making money is a good reason to destroy our home planet. Because what happens when it's dead and we're rich? Then what? Right? So, any kind of thinking beyond the most superficial response, like sort of a basic ant level response, is not really in the interest of people who are trying to sell you things. They just want you to be attracted to what they're showing you or swayed by it, and then to go ahead and push a button, make a purchase. It's very, very difficult for anyone without a concerted effort to be conscious and present and aware and vigilant. Very difficult for anyone, much less a child, to operate against these forces. So when we say that, kids don't know how to talk to each other, or they don't know how to talk to us, they don't know how to talk at all, they don't know how human interactions are missing. The subtle cues that come from body language and pheromones, the experiences that come from actually doing something instead of seeing it on YouTube and thinking that because for 50 minutes you watched it over and over again, now you can, jump off that cliff on your skis and you know how to do it now, right? And then you plunge to your death. These things are a very real and difficult problem in the world, and they're not easily solved by philosophical pontificating or by teachers in schools, because most teachers, and indeed a lot of parents, simply do not have the energy and opportunity and the time, I regret to say, to combat such a constant and incessant and relentless force as all these media represent. So what's an answer to this? The answer is that each individual person has to have an interest and desire to not be controlled, to not be manipulated, to actually want to think things through, see things as they really are, and live a life that they direct as opposed to a life that someone else directs.
That's so beautiful. I mean, that's so true. Oh my goodness, I just thinking about what you said, and I'll just say something that there are times I forget my phone, and I do it unintentionally, but maybe it's really intentional. It's such a pleasure for 2 to 3 hours. I'm somewhere, no phone.
I remember I had a friend and a student who was a neurosurgeon. And in addition to the millions of dollars a year he made with dramatic rescues and, dramatic surgeries and inside people's heads, I even went to the hospital a couple of times with him and stood at his elbow as he was doing his work. But in addition to the money he made, doing that, he made $3 million a year. This is years ago. I don't know what it would be now, 5 maybe, simply to carry a beeper. So, $5 million a year in today's money, maybe, I don't know, close, to carry a beeper, meaning that he would be available. So that money was paid to him, not for the work he did, but for his availability. And the work he did was on top of that, right? And I looked at him and I said, wow, that's great. That's a lot of money. And that's a lot of opportunity to help people. Good for you. I could never live that way, and I would never be interested in it, even if it was another 10 million. I would not like to have my life be at the disposal and the beck and call of other people. Now, all first responders and many people in service are in that position, and far be it from me to criticize them. What I'm saying is that everybody is different. I don't have the nervous system for that. I don't have the constitution for that. You have to be stronger than I am to be able to constantly be assaulted by beeping and calls and demands. But how many of those people, and I think probably the answer is some yes and some no, actually think through any kind of high stress job, particularly ones that are highly remunerative, and ask themselves, am I enjoying my life? Am I making the best contribution I can make? Maybe the answer is yes. Maybe in the case of a neurosurgeon or a heart surgeon or something, the answer is yes. Far be it from me to say, I don't know, because each one is different. Maybe there's a great heart surgeon who would be an even greater concert pianist, right? So, I have no idea. The question is, each one of us has to decide what we really want to do and who we really want to be. And we have to go in that direction unswayed and unaffected by cultural messages, these weapons of mass distraction to which we are deliberately exposed. And to get to the quiet that lets you be in touch with who you really are and say, look, that beeper is nothing to me. I'm a policeman, I'm a Marine, I'm a brain surgeon. What really makes me happy and fulfilled and excited is to carry that beeper and eagerly wait for it to go off so I can help somebody. Okay, so if that's the way you feel about your work, I give you 2 thumbs up and 9 bows. Great respect. Wish I were that strong. But there are many other people who are in different kinds of jobs who suffer every day. They hate going to work. They can also be in relationships they don't want to be in. They can be in other kinds of situations they don't want to be in. And they've gotten there through being in such a distracted state by the constant buzz of everything around us, the hum of the world, that they've lost the ability to know what they really want and who they really are. And our work in Taoism and in other meditative and philosophical practices around the world is to clear out, to turn down the volume on those interferences and to get more closely in touch with our true self. And that's how we avoid habits that are self-destructive. How do we avoid obesity? It starts with what you put in your mouth. How do you avoid anxiety? It starts with beginning to worry about every little thing and having all that accumulate like a mountain until you're in a constant state of wincing, waiting for the next thing. And I could go on and on with this list of disorders or states or unpleasantness or suffering, all of which began somewhere with some smaller thing and our response to it. What the world throws our way, we mostly can't control. Most of us don't have the means or opportunity to retreat to a monastery or go to a cabin. But we can begin to watch ourselves, see how we react, and go, yeah, you know, I'm just eating this chocolate cake because I'm watching TV and I'm not really paying attention to what I'm eating, and I don't even really want it, and I'm kind of full, and it's kind of making me a little, it's too sweet, but I'm eating it anyway, and how about I don't do that? And the principles to which I adhere as a monk and philosopher and writer, a practitioner, are the principles that tell us we cannot control anybody else. We can only rarely control the world around us, but we can completely control ourselves. And by the way, I'm not talking about something as mundane as willpower. So willpower is a strange word. Willpower doesn't exist. There is nobody, I don't care how trained they are or who they are, if you put 10 Hershey's Kisses in front of them on a table and you let them sit there long enough in front of those Hershey Kisses, kisses are going to get eaten. I don't care who you are. So the question is, how do you modify that? And the answer is, you don't sit in front of 10 Hershey Kisses. How about no Hershey's Kisses in the house? So, how about when you get up at 11 o'clock at night and you're about to eat a pint of ice cream and that's going to make you sick and fat and all the rest of it, not to do that, but, there's that pint and out comes your spoon. You say, wait, just a couple of spoonfuls. What if there is no pint in your refrigerator? What if you didn't buy that and put it in your fridge? Then when you get up at 11 o'clock, you go, there is no, you go back to bed. Okay, all right. Battle won. There's so many thousands of little techniques and answers to, protecting ourselves from ourselves and getting a little better at being who we really are.
So where do you put willpower into your thesis here.
So willpower doesn't exist. It's a fiction. And that's why I said, you put enough chocolate in front of anybody who likes chocolate, they're going to eat it. You wait long enough, things will go through the brain, and sooner or later a wrapper is being removed. So the question is, to recriminate ourselves and say, we're weak because I'm very much like this. I'm vegan, so I eat those vegan ice creams, but I like to be thin and fit and lean, and I don't like gaining weight from those things, and I don't like the sugar rush particularly. Makes my heart beat fast. I don't like it. So I just don't have any of that stuff in the house. It's just so simple, right? When I'm not in the frame of mind where I'm feeling an urge, I just make the decision when I'm shopping at the grocery store, I'm not going to go down that aisle. I don't feel it particularly need at that time, so I just avoid the aisle. So then when I get home, there's nothing to put away into the freezer because there are no ice cream in the shopping. And then when there's 11 o'clock at night and I want to binge, there's no ice cream there. It's that simple. So then I don't binge. So, we all have to find our way. And that exploration of technique to answer the problems of your proclivities and habits and weaknesses, if you want to call them that, the strategizing is what is willpower. That's the real willpower, is to do it mindfully. When you're in the grocery store, don't buy that. That's the answer. Now the question is, once you've begun to make these changes in yourself, do I have time to tell the Starbucks story?
Yes, I want you to. I just want to tell everybody that you are listening. We did feature young Rude Monk with this book in our magazine, Turtle Planet. And we've already talked about it, but it's become very important to me, and I hope you will buy it. But right now, we have the pleasure of his philosophizing, which he is a great philosopher. And he's just so many things. It's such a privilege to have him talking to us today. So you can just keep talking, whatever you like, we love.
So thank you, Anita, for those kind words. If you try consciously and deliberately to change other people, if you are young and evangelical and full of energy, or you are older and cynical and narrowly focused in your mission, either way, you're going to find very quickly that simply trying to change the world as a phrase, as an idea, often doesn't go the way you plan. But changing yourself is a measurable and achievable goal. And what happens of great interest is that it turns out that this inward focus, which might sound initially to be narcissistic or self-involved, self-centered, is in fact the most effective way to change the world around you. And so we have to redefine and make a difference, for example, between self-centered and selfish. Selfish is not something we want to be. Self-centered in the context of improvement, enlightenment, elevation of habits and thoughts. It's a very effective tool. So we become the stone that is dropped into the pond, and ripples spread out from that pond into our family, our circle of friends, community, town or city, state, nation, world. By the time they get across the globe, these ripples are necessarily smaller because that's the nature of the beast. You drop it in and the ripples closest to where you dropped it are the biggest. But if you multiply those little ripples at a distance, the ones that occur across the world, by millions of other people who are doing the same work, then you have a really powerful effect. So when people say, that I'm a little evangelical about these ideas, I put them in this Mad Monk Manifesto. There's a little bit of glare there. Sorry, I'm in front of the window.
And that could be purchased at Amazon?
Yeah, that's on Amazon. It's been out a couple of years now. It's done well and won some awards and so on. But the thesis of that book, which I think is a nice book to carry around in your backpack or your briefcase or your purse, because it's not really designed to be read like you did a program on my thriller Mistress Meow.
Yeah.
Right. So that book, is the kind of book you want to pick up in New York, and as you land in LA, you finished it, or you want to read it several nights in a row and you can't wait to get back to find out what happens. That's a different kind of book. This book is meant to be read as little snippets. Each paragraph and section stands alone. You can think about those things and you can use them as inspiration. I like to think of myself not as a prescriptive or self-help author, but as an inspirational author. I hope that people find some of these ideas inspiring. The other works, like Anita, you picked up Turtle Planet. The difference between this Mad Monk Manifesto and Turtle Planet is very simple and straightforward. This is the bitter herb. This is the strong medicine. And, when you taste it, it's like, some people got mad at me for things I said in there. Some people thought I was great for some things I said in there. You can't drink the bitter herb without noticing you're drinking some medicine. Turtle Planet, on the other hand, takes these same ideas and puts them in a strawberry milkshake, which is why fiction and fictionalized inspirational stuff is always fun going down, because we have a brain wired for stories, so everybody enjoys that. And so I offer both. Different personalities like different things. So there was a film out a few years back called Pay It Forward. Kevin Spacey was in it. And it was, I've been told that I'm the father of Pay It Forward on account of something that happened back in 2012, almost 10 years ago. I was in a line of cars at Starbucks in the drive-through. And I got to the window, I got to the menu, and I gave my order of a cup of tea to a young lady whom I recognized by her voice because she was British, and sometimes I would talk to her when I bought her tea. And when I finished with my ordering, there was nowhere to go because the cars in front of me had not moved. So we were all, pretty much bumper to bumper waiting. And the guy behind me, leans on his horn and sticks out his head from the window and says, move up, you idiot. And there's 4 inches or so between me and the car in front of me. There's nowhere to go. And because I am a great and enlightened master, my first thought was, I'm going to get out and I'm going to show him. It was near Christmas. I'm going to show him who he can honk the horn. And I start to open the door in a not very Taoist monk fashion, I'm afraid. I see in my side mirror, I see his face, and he is florid with rage. Not happy with the alignment of his mouth and the microphone, I don't know. And I see my own face in the side view mirror as well, and my own face looks just like his face. And I have a moment, and I close the door, and I don't get out. When I get up to the window, I say to the girl, she says, that'll be $2 or whatever it was for the tea. Actually, I'd like to buy the coffee for the guy behind me. And she says, what? He's an arse. She heard all that. And I said, yeah, we don't really know, do we? Maybe he just found out he has cancer. Maybe his wife just left him. Maybe his kid's in jail. Maybe he just got fired. I mean, who knows what's going on? Just buy his coffee. And she said, well, the problem is it's not just coffee. He's buying breakfast for his entire office, and it's $100 or whatever it was. And I look in my wallet, and as is so sadly often the case, there's a lone $10 bill in there, and I wasn't really prepared for. But it was Christmas, so I took out my credit card, and I said, here, go ahead. Just what? Really? Are you sure? I said, yeah, do it before I change my mind. So she takes it, and she does it, and I drive away, and I am completely back in my happy place. I'm not mad anymore. I'm not agitated anymore. I don't feel any adrenaline anymore. This has only been a couple of minutes. And I remember choosing a route away from the Starbucks that would ensure that I would not encounter this person again. I didn't want to hear, thank you, or you're an idiot, or I didn't want to hear any of that. I just was done with that, and I moved on. Some hours later, I came home after teaching a lot of classes in the park. And I find that my answering machine, it was an old style one where you could still see the number of calls, and it had a little, you had to push the buttons and all that. My answering machine is full, so full that there's not even a number. And I started listening to the messages in there, initially from Starbucks. Please call us, please call us, please call us. And from first from the girl, then from her manager and all that. And of course, what I took from this was the credit card was no good. I thought, no, it was, it was a debit card. It should have been fine, And the messages keep on coming and coming. And then finally, because I was away most of the day, finally there's a message from I can't remember, is it ABC, maybe ABC News reporter.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? He says, yes, call me right away. This is a so-and-so from ABC. I think it's ABC. Maybe it was NBC. Anyway, I'm thinking, what is this about? And I keep listening to messages. Call me. This is my cell. It's very urgent. So while I'm listening to these messages, the phone rings, and it's this reporter himself. And he says, there you are. I've been trying to reach you all day. And I said, well, you must have the wrong guy. And he said, no, weren't you at Starbucks? And I said, you're calling me about a cup of coffee? I'll buy a cup of coffee. And he says, no, it was more than coffee. You bought breakfast. I said, okay, it was a few cups of coffee. I mean, are you doing a story on philanthropy around Christmas? Call Bill Gates. This is nothing. There's things going on in shelters and Habitat for Humanity and all these wonderful things that people are doing. It doesn't bother. This is a non-story. He says, no, it is a story. And here's why. After you did that for the guy behind you, he did it for the person behind him, who did it for the person behind him, and on and on and on. And it's been going on. It's now 3:30 and you did it at 8 a.m. It's been going on all day. And I said, wow, this must be Starbucks asking people if he said, well, even if Starbucks is asking, people usually don't do, but they're doing today. So I said, all right, I don't want you at my house, but I'll meet you at the Starbucks. So I went and I talked to the reporter, and I explained to him that in Taoism, there are 3 doors. I make up this 3 doors because it's a more accessible version of the texts. Door number 1, force against force, conflict. Remember, this conversation is all under the umbrella of you changing you and what an effect this has on the world. And I'm using this as an example. Door number 1, the guy honks the horn, you get out, you put your fist through his window, send him to the dentist, and you go to jail. Door number 2, the supplicant, yielding. He honks and insults you, you get out, you go to his window and you say, you're right. I'm an idiot. I should have moved up the 4 inches for you. Let me just shine your hubcaps for you with my elbow and clean your window. Maybe that'll make you feel better. Okay. Door number one, neither of those two doors, direct confrontation or yielding, is necessarily the right one. And most of the time, they both lead us into trouble. So the interesting thing is to figure out a third door, door number 3. And what is door number 3? The answer is, it is defined by being not door number 1 and not door number 2. So a creative solution to every situation you're in, you got to figure it out. And then you get better and better at figuring that out as your mind becomes more stable. So when I talked about the ripples in the pond, this is a really good example. This became an international news story and ran on the news, went on the internet. People wrote me from all over the world. And you can see it on YouTube. I have it on my Monk Yunro channel, which you can find on YouTube. Just search Monk Yunro, YUNROU. And you can watch the video of the news report. And you get the idea that what's important is not the news report and not about coffee and not about buying somebody coffee. What's important is understanding that in the moment that this was happening, I came up with this solution. And what a powerful, unexpected set of consequences emerged from that one tiny little action. Look how far those ripples went. Anyway, so that's the philosophy and ideas that I espouse and that I practice or do my best to do. And that's an example.
Well, so let me ask you, so here you are, you're furious in a sense, and then all of a sudden, where did that come from? That you said, okay, just relax. This wasn't, you could understand all the things you said, that the man may have this and that. So is that something that people learn the way that you responded, or is it from within? How can we get other people? I mean, you've made a big difference. And as you were talking, I was thinking about all the situations now that I'm in, that I'm going to start to think more of what you did. So.
There's a concept in Buddhism called enlightenment. I'm not a Buddhist monk, and I make no claims to any such state at all, of course. But there are similar ideas in Taoism about harmony and balance and equilibrium and opening your mind. And in Taoism, we achieve a more equanimous mind. We achieve we're a cool dude or dudette as a result of practice. So we believe that the physical practice creates a body which is stable enough to support a mind that wants to grow in this direction. And that whether we're doing Tai Chi or Qigong or meditation or all those things, by calming down the body, we allow the mind to lift in consciousness, to lift in level, only to the point needed, at least in this example. If you want to, journey through the stars, then you need to go further. But to be able to simply not react in a knee-jerk, aggressive fashion, to tame anger or outrage or impatience, you only need a little bit of insight into what's happening that creeps into your mind, like, maybe that poor guy is having something terrible go on and he's acting like this because, he's suffering. And, compassion and humility and frugality are the 3 cornerstones, the 3 so-called treasures of Taoism. And in this case, it was compassion that levered in. It was a very good question, Anita. Thank you for that. Because it was compassion for his suffering that gave me the flash of insight that, wait, hold on, maybe this is not the best way to go. Got to figure out a better way here. Because when I saw his face, I saw, geez, I wouldn't want to be in that condition. And then I saw my own face, and so I was in that condition, and that was a bit of a shock. I think if I hadn't looked in the mirror, actually, that might have been the catalyst for the whole thing in this particular instance, right? If I hadn't looked in the mirror and seen what I saw in him and seen that same thing in myself and had a bit of a shock, realizing that I had allowed that state of mind to communicate itself to me, I might not have come up with the third door idea to buy his coffee, right?
The second door is interesting also.
You know, there are times when door number one might be the right door. I can envision some. I'm in a restaurant, the guy at the next table starts beating up his girlfriend.
Right.
Might be that the door number three would be a more effective way of doing that. I don't know right now. I'm just saying that I can imagine some small number of cases where door number one, conflict, is the only thing that's going to work. And you do it knowing that it's going to have repercussions, and you might get arrested, but maybe you feel it's the only way because something is happening right now and there's no time, blah, blah, blah. You don't want to see the girl, have a broken cheek. That's just, for instance. Door number two that you asked about, an obsequious groveling, I kind of hammed it up to make the point. But, there can be times when in negotiation or confrontation, acquiescence is the thing. And it may be the only way out. It might even be the only way to survive. You might be in a situation on the street where someone pulls a knife or a gun or something and says, give me your money. And, you don't really want to risk some creative, hey, look at that, and run away, and so you put up your hands, you give the wallet, whatever. Because that's the best thing to do in that circumstance. I mean, what's interesting about the conversation is that most people don't think about a door number three. They think only in binary terms, one or two. So what's new here is that one or two always are options, but three can also be, and often is the best and most useful. But I would never make a blanket statement that, there's 0 times when, one or two are not required, but not most of the time, I think.
I can foresee a column, if you have the time, called 3 Doors. I don't know what your schedule is. I know that you're trying to do a lot of things, and you have a lot of this personal, serious situations, but I would like to offer you the opportunity, if you would, I don't have a lot of room, but I would do something to make sure I have something from you starting with September. And it only has to be 200 words, 250 words, because I don't have a lot of room, but your words are so well thought out. It wouldn't take a lot of words. And that's why I thought of the 3 doors, because I've never heard that idea. But anyway, think about it. You don't have to make a decision.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Okay.
All right. I think that was pretty good. You got some new stuff.
Got fabulous stuff, right?
So,
actually,
Anita, I would love to have your thoughts and review and discuss this with you. I'm not sure that you'll talk to me anymore after you read it. I hope so.
No, I'm sure that's not true.
It's pretty.
So are you going to send that to me?
I can send it to you.
Okay.
Just make sure I have your mailing address.
Okay, Dan will do that.
Yep.
Close up.
And I'll put one in the mail to you. I actually have to go to the mail place today, so I'll stick one in for you.
I would like that.
Yeah, I think not for the faint of heart, this one. Turtle Planet is very beguiling, and Mistress Meow is sexy and exciting. This one is right up the nose.
And that's okay. But actually, Turtle Planet wasn't beguiling, actually. It was fearful for me. I felt very sad. I felt it opened up my eyes about a lot of things. And we have little turtles that live around the pond where I am. And also, I must say that I couldn't send it to you. I saw it on one of my, one of the super things that come to my phone, but it was about a 200-year-old 200-year-old turtle. I don't remember the name, but it was fantastic. And I was trying to shoot it over to you. But when I find it, I think I'm just going to tell you what it's called. You probably know.
So I have put in 3 calls to my friend who is in North Miami Beach with a little pet shop. So he's near you, and I've asked him to help you, but he hasn't answered me, which means, since he always answers me, it means he's out of the country. He travels a lot. He's a Colombian Italian, comes from a wealthy pharmaceutical company family, and has opened this as his passion. I've known him for years. His name is Francesco. He's really a lovely guy. He has a beautiful house on the water and not far from his shop. And he will find you something. So something interesting. And I'm working with him on this. So be patient with me a little bit longer. As soon as I hear back from him, I'll get it organized for you, because I told you I would.
No problem. No problem. You really are. I don't know how we first met years ago. It was many years ago that we started talking, but you are extraordinary. You know that. And you're my 3-door man.
Wow. I got to tell that to Janelle. She's going to love that.
3-door man.
She's going to scream when I tell her that. It's so funny.
I know, but it's a thought. It's very important. I think that people today, I guess the big thing for me is thinking about what you said is there are many retirees that really shouldn't have a care in the world, but they do, and they make it for themselves. It's not like
that's right.
I know that. And
that's exactly.
You were talking when we first started today, about, let's see, and I wrote it down, the inner revolution and how people really do this to themselves. They don't have to. But maybe it comes from their upbringing or whatever happened. You sound like you had wonderful parents, and they must have helped create who you are.
I'm sure that's true. They weren't the easiest, but they were great anyway.
Yeah, easiest is the point.
Yeah.
You felt loved, and and encouraged. That's the most important thing.
My dad, at some point we should talk about, a lot of your readers and viewers will know who my father was, because he was on Fox News every morning in the Sunday House Call TV show. Yeah, Isidore Rosenfeld. So he was a very famous physician. He wrote many books that, but when he found out I became a monk,
he disowned you?
Toward the end of his life, when he first heard it, he said, my mother, what did we do wrong? My son, the monk. And then, later, when he was losing his mind a little bit, he asked me about it. I said, yes, Dad, he said, I saw your card with that name on it. What name is that? I said, yeah. And he said, so there's a video of me becoming a monk. My ordination is actually on YouTube. It's like a 1-minute snippet. The ordination took days, but this is like a 1-minute view. And he said, he looks at it, he's watching it on his iPad. And he sees me in the robes and the hat and the whole thing. And he's looking, he says, which one is you? I said, Dad, come on, which one is me? The one who's not Chinese. So he looks closely and he says, so that's you? I said, yeah. He said, in the hat and that? I said, yeah. He said, and you went to China and he keeps going with that. In the meantime, like everybody in the room is getting ready. People start covering their ears. My 2 brothers walk out. Nobody wants to hear it, He says, you went all the way. I said, yeah. And I'm bracing, wincing for what's coming because, I've had 60 odd years of experience. And he looks at me and he says, you're fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
And it was such like a complete,
Oh,
and they almost started to
oh,
cry. You know, it was a great
of
moment.
course,
Now, I won't say that there
of
were,
course.
an abundance of those, but that was a good one.
No, I was just going to say that was it. That's what you were. That's
Yeah, it
what
was
you were
very sweet.
yearning for. You were
Yeah, it
yearning
was
for
very
that.
sweet. Well, I got used to the other, but
No, you
it
never
was
get
nice to
used to
hear.
it. No, you never get used to it. And that's what happened. And did he live a long time after that?
In a couple of years, he died at 91 a few years
Okay.
ago. Yeah, the last few years, he had a lot of dementia from Crestor, those statin drugs. The FDA issued a warning on, them creating these kinds of problems. He took it for 30 years, so it kind of took him down. He didn't have Alzheimer's; he just had this other thing. And my mom is also not, that with it now. She's still alive. She's a little bit younger, but
How old is your mother?
86 or 87 now.
And she lives in where she live in Miami?
No, she's up in Westchester County in New York.
Oh, okay.
That's where my parents were at the end.
Mm-hmm.
My father always loved Florida. My mother never wanted to go. She had her whole thing. My mom is a shy and introverted person. She had her orchid nurseries and she didn't like going out much. And my father was the exact opposite. It was an interesting push-pull their whole life. He was the height of gregarious and loved people and loved to be appreciated and have an audience and all that. And my mother was, let me go take care of my plants.
Have you,
Yeah.
with all that you've written, have you written any kind of a biography, an autobiography or something?
So I have a memoir coming out
A memoir.
next year.
Good.
It's called The Monk of Park Avenue.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
that's
and we
fabulous.
just knocked it back a few months in the publishing schedule because they wanted to have like one or two more books come out before the memoir. There's just a marketing decision. So if you like, though, Anita, if you're interested, I can send it to you. I can send you
Yes,
the finished
I
book
am. Yeah,
as a manuscript. I actually think you would enjoy it a lot.
I would like it.
I think you would really like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm very thankful. However, we found one another. Must have been maybe you got a hold
You
of
did a
Book of
program
Science or
in
something.
Boca. You did a program in Boca, and
Okay.
you had on this a young, attractive, tall woman who I can't remember what she was there for, but we were at Boca Hospital or somewhere in Boca, and I really now I don't remember the venue, but it had a very big room, and that's how we met. You had invited me, or somebody had invited me to talk at that. And the key moment that you might remember, which was very funny, or humorous, was that I was talking about Tai Chi, and this other guest, again, she was a nutritionist, I think that's what she was. But she was very glamorous. She came up to check out my Tai Chi, and everybody's watching, and I said, all right, put your hand on my chest and see what you feel. And she's doing this, and she turns to the audience and she says, "This is some chest." Right? And everybody broke up. It was really funny. Yeah, she was nice. I
This
can't
must have
remember.
been a Cure symposium I did, maybe something like
Yeah,
that.
that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I can't remember that girl's name, but I was on the podium
yeah.
with her talking about health and nutrition, and that's how we
Was
met.
her name Sunny?
It doesn't ring a bell.
Doesn't ring a bell. Okay. Well, I've had a lot of people on for many years.
She was a statuesque, blondish, very pretty girl.
And she was a nutritionist, right?
Yeah.
And
pretty
if
sure.
it's the person I'm thinking about, she used to live in Weston, or she lived in Weston, and she was riding her bike, and some crazy guy crashed into her. Either he was drunk or something, killed her immediately. That just happened less than 6 months ago. That's the person, I'm sure. It's the only one that I had that was a beautiful statuesque person.
What a terrible story.
Yeah,
I'm very, very sad to hear that.
Yes.
She
I
was
know
a
that.
very nice, she was a nice person, and
Oh,
sure
very,
she had a lot to
very.
live for.
Yeah, she had a 6-year-old child and,
Oh
oh,
my
yes.
God. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
she
it
must have
was,
died she couldn't have been more than 40.
yeah, that's true. It's about right. Yes,
Yeah,
very much so.
wow.
Yeah, and they're
Oh, how
trying
sad.
to do something, criminally, to charge the man, and he, I don't know, he he was with some other friends, and they're working on it. Her husband was a lawyer, but yeah, it just happened, as I said. So that's interesting that you should even
That's
bring it
really
up.
terrible. I lost my first wife to a car accident that happened in front of me.
I didn't know
So,
that.
yeah, so I feel this kind of thing very keenly.
I'm sure you do. Wow. Well, this
Yeah.
has been, I guess, this is a precious, precious time for me. And I'm so glad that Dan, Dan is such an expert and such, he's not only kind and smart, but he does know how to take things that happen that are unforeseen and put it together and make it all come out. And that's what he's going to do with this, because this was a treasure. So we're going to say goodbye, but you're going to send me a couple of things. I want to have the one book, of course, that we talked about,
I'm going to email you. Let me just say that in closing on the subject of Dan, I'm not equipped to evaluate his lightness of foot nor his expertise, although everything I see looks great. But I am more impressed by his kindness.
Oh, you can't ever put a thermometer on that one. That's way off the charts. Yep. Yeah, he's very special, very special.
So thank you for that, Dan.
Right, Dan.
My pleasure.
All right, you guys, I'll send everything. Anita, I'm going to right away while I'm still at the desk, I'm going to email you the Monk of Park Avenue so you can get an early read. I only ask you not to share it because it's pre-publication.
I won't, but I
Yeah.
also want to have the other thing that we talked about, the manifesto.
Yeah, I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to go out and run
very
over to I'll put that in the
Okay.
mail right away. Okay,
And just
and
keep
send me the
taking-
mailing address so I can do that.
Yeah, okay, Dan will give that to you. So
Okay,
Dan,
thanks
you
again,
can
you
email
guys.
him or whatever you want to do.
Talk soon.
Please, just don't leave us. Please don't. I don't mean now. Just don't leave us. I don't want you to go.
Thank you for
anywhere. I want
saying
you to be here.
that.
I
It's
want you
that
to
kind
be
of time.
here. Okay, honey.
Thank you.
Love you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.